I don't know what Dell is doing either, but Dell's doing Dell things because that's what Dell does. And I don't even know if Dell can hear us. Hi, Dell. Well, he sees us. Ladies
No,
and
he's
gentlemen,
not.
thanks for joining us on this week's edition of the Weekly Roundtable. I'm Frank Johnson, one of your co-hosts, co-founder of the Liberty First Foundation, host of the ever popular YouTube channel, The Range Report, and I'm sitting here eating chicken and potatoes. To my right is Michael Vasquez, Dragon of New York State, New York's only true independent journalist, the scourge of leftists who hide behind teleprompters. And of course, Dal Grimm, who's having all kinds of trouble with his microphone or headset and causing all kinds of static for us to listen to, but that's okay. We'll just mute him until he gets his shit straightened out. So, Vass, we and I were
Hey,
talking brief. You and I were talking briefly off camera, and if I understand, there's a whole lot of hoo-ha going on down there at Columbia University. Give us the lowdown.
yeah, it's one of the fun things that are happening right now. It seems now most people may have forgotten that last year during the graduation ceremonies of several colleges over at Harvard University, Columbia, Cornell University, and UCLA, a lot of the colleges across this country, they support Hamas. They support genocide. We saw that very famously when the head of Harvard, the head of MIT, the head of the Pennsylvania University of Pennsylvania were asked by members of Congress, do they support or do they denounce genocide? And they didn't know what to say. They dodged. They never said that they would deny genocide, speaking specifically in reference to Hamas and Israel in the wake of the October 7th, 2023 horrific terrorist attack by Hamas against Israel, where they captured 34 they killed 34 Americans, took 22 Americans hostage, tortured, and sexually abused those Americans for now about 500 days. And we now know that they have killed all the Americans except for there's one American left that is still held by Hamas, and he's the only one left alive. The others have all been killed. So, that being said, in Columbia and Harvard, they were protesting in favor of Hamas, the same ones that killed the Americans. Some of the, and we know that they were trying to do a, what do you call it? Occupy movement, like Occupy in New York, Occupy Binghamton. They were doing an Occupy movement on the college campus, which is illegal in New York State and according to the rules of the college. And that could lead to expulsion. So they tried to occupy it, and a lot of the protesters were arrested. About 30% of them weren't even college students. They were just professional protesters, and that was the latest protest. One of those protesters, among several of them, was an individual who has a green card, initially had a student visa, now has a green card, Mahmoud Khalil. And so he's a foreigner in the United States, long-term resident, a master's student. And he was going to Columbia, and he arranged this support for Hamas, the terrorist organization. Trump has come out and said, well, terrorism is something that America does not support. Breaking the law is something that immigrants, actual migrants, people who have legally come into the United States, that's a violation of the terms of why they're in America. You can't come in with a green card or as a student and break U.S. law. That breaks the terms of your green card, the terms of your visa, and therefore you got to go. So on Saturday, the ICE picked him up, U.S. government picked him up and detained him. He's now in Louisiana. He was in New York City. He's in Louisiana. He's in detention. He's about to be deported from the United States. there are protests, maybe you call them riots, in New York City right now. Columbia students are fighting and writing and getting arrested because they want to keep the terrorist supporter at Columbia University. I think that's crazy.
Well,
I think that's insane.
listen, we know where the loyalties of the colleges are. I mean, we don't have to go back all that long ago. I mean, Mahmoud Ahmadinejad, the president of Iran. Remember that guy? He was he was over there making pit stops at every one of these colleges, not only rousting up support and financing, but he was being welcomed with open arms by the administration, the students, and everything else. And even then, the Jewish population at the schools, which was saying, that the Iranians kind of fund a lot of this stuff that kills Israelis all over the place. The Jews were shut down then. And Ahmadinejad was given a hero's welcome everywhere that he went. And then it wasn't until you actually had him on stage when some people started asking him, we hear rumors that gay people in Iran get thrown off roofs and get executed.
Yes.
And he said, no, that's not true. And somebody said, but we've seen videos. No, that's not true. We don't have any gay people in Iran. It's illegal to be gay in Iran. It's illegal to be trans in Iran. And every one of the sacred cows that the leftists that supported his visitation and are probably supporting this clown who got locked up, every one of the sacred cows that they bow to the altar of is shunned by the people that they're supporting.
Not shunned. It is
executed.
actively denied. It is, if you're gay in the Middle East, most of the Middle Eastern countries, including Iran, including Gaza, they will kill you. If you are trans, they will kill you. They don't believe in women driving or working. That is a fact. We see this all the time. They poisoned young girls going to school so that they could stop them from learning to read and write. These are confirmed facts from all of the international credible news media. This is what they believe, and this is what Harvard and Columbia, the colleges in America, that's what they're supporting. Me Too doesn't exist.
No, that's all lies. It's all lies, Fass. It's what the Jewish-controlled media, the puppets in the Jewish-controlled media.
It's Al Jazeera confirmed.
You know that Al Jazeera is run from Tel Aviv. you know who's behind behind that. It's the Jews. The Jews are behind it. You can't trust a thing they say. It's all hyperbole, and it's yeah. Well, they can get hit in the face with everything that they hold dear. Put it into a basket and hand it to the people that they support. They would blow the friggin' basket up. But yet they turn around and I don't understand them. I honestly don't understand it.
First of all, for people who don't know, Al Jazeera is a international news organization, not credible, but it is international. It is supported by pro-terrorist organizations throughout the Middle East. It is the voice of most of the terrorist organizations and funded in large part by Iran. So Al Jazeera, I do not consider, and most don't consider credible, but it's got nothing. It hates. It is actively a hate organization against Jews and many other groups. But it is very curious that when you go onto a college campus, the policies that they support actually would kill them. That they don't seem to catch the logic loop that what you support here in the United States is something that would get you killed in some of these countries that they're supporting. You go to Iran, you go to Gaza, you go to Syria, Jordan, they'll kill you for these ideas that our colleges promote on a regular basis. And yet It's like the craziest thing, queers for Hamas. It's
Yeah,
stupid.
transracial basket weavers for Hamas. It, I mean, for crying out loud, do you not understand? You're a target to these people, but yet you're just a useful idiot
Well,
to them here.
so user has been banned says earlier. He said we are at the weather underground violence levels, and when he says that, that's a reference to the 1960s. An individual named Bill Ayers. He was the mentor to Barack Obama, and he was part of a homegrown United States terrorist organization in the 60s, the Weather Underground, that went around bombing uh, government buildings and killed a couple of people. So that's U.S. terrorism. So that's what user has been banned is referencing there. But we also have Anya who's with us. Hello, Anya. And Anya says that can we send these students to these foreign countries? I often say we should. That if you want to support a foreign country, if you hate U.S. politics or foreign policy, have you ever lived in another country? I've done several speeches at colleges where I was brought in because I've actually lived in Moscow. I've lived in the Soviet Union back in the 90s before they became what they are today. I've seen communism for a year and a half, living every single day, not as some kind of special guest like Sean Penn or Jay-Z or Beyonce. No, just as a regular person living every day in a socialist nation. And I would not wish that on anyone in America. It is depressive. It's a prison sentence. But that's the difference between I've lived the system, I've seen it, and what they promote in the colleges, which are wonderful stories on paper, has nothing to do with reality. And if you ask people from these different countries, if you ask someone from the old Soviet Union, speak to people who've lived in the Middle East, they come to America and say, which one's better? It's here. That's why they came. Go ahead.
I remember growing up, I used to hear a lot about my friends that I hadn't seen in a while. Like, hey, what have you done? I haven't seen you in a while. Oh, I took a semester abroad, and they went to Europe, or they went here, or they went there. How come none of these students want to take a semester abroad and go to Syria, or go anywhere else where they're maybe they're green and purple hued hairs and their nose ring and all the rest of their paraphernalia might not be looked upon so welcomely. Why don't the schools offer credits to go to these schools? Oh, you want to study these things? Why live through a book? Why not go and live on the ground and get with the people?
But you got to remember, there have been how many stories? Many of these individuals, these leftists, who do go to these countries, and the students know about it. Some of them are students, and they wind
the
up,
ones who got like the Palestinian sympathizers who went over to protest Israel that got picked up, the Jews that got picked up when the terrorists hit, and then were later executed. You mean the Palestinian supporting Jews who were executed by the Palestinians because they were Jews?
yeah. I mean, they're one set of it. It's happened in Iran. We've seen that in Syria. It's because when they have to confront reality, they don't get the result they think they're going to get. They think that, somehow the colleges have been selling the idea, well, it's just MAGA. It's just the right wing that don't like what you like. No, it's the culture you're talking about. And anyone who has paid attention to the international credible news agencies, I'm talking about the left-leaning news agencies, Deutsche Welle, BBC, Guardian, go around the world. They all confirm the same thing. And when they have to confront that reality, it's worse than getting a brick to the face. And they do often get bricks to their faces if they actually show up there. Yeah. And But I think it's really important that President Trump is making a statement. Not only is he deporting illegal aliens, as he should, and that is widely supported by the majority of Americans, according to every poll that's been done on this since he became president. I think it's also important that we need to send a message to the legal migrants that they don't get a pass either. If they break the law, they will be held accountable. That is a condition to break their visa. They lose their visa, they lose their green card, they lose their status, and they will be deported. And they should be, because if they
Well,
can't
that's
be part of a
well,
civil society, they don't need to be here. Go ahead.
years ago, before they had to go through all of this, you know, all the whole listing of a whole different bunch of, they could just look at one person, the cumulative acts of that one person, and they would just be classified as undesirable. And that was it. That was the term that they would use in order to get rid of somebody who was here on legal status, but who continued to violate the terms and conditions of that status, who kept breaking the law. And they would eventually say, you know what, this person is undesirable. And that was
Yeah.
it. That's how they were classified. Oh, you're undesirable? There you go. Back on a boat.
Well, that's part of the U.S., and it still is part of the U.S. immigration policy that someone has to be of good moral character or good character. That is required. That is a requirement even to this day, which there's a lot of ways to define it, but the one thing that everyone does agree on is you follow the law. You're not a criminal. You don't break the law. And if you break the law, that's bad moral character. That's not something positive for any society. Get out of our country. And that's terms for deportation. But yet, if you're looking at Columbia University right now over the last several days, they don't get it. These are supposedly college educated individuals, multiple degrees, and they don't get that breaking the law. They're like, it's about First Amendment. And to be fair, if all this guy did was hold up a sign and say, he doesn't like Jewish people, that's one of his rights. In America, the First Amendment, that's a right. You get to say you don't like, you could say, I don't like Islam. You could say, I don't like Hamas. You could say, I don't like Jews. You don't like Israel. You don't like the United States. You can say that. That's all covered by the First Amendment. There is no hate speech. Doesn't exist. You can say you don't like any group you don't want to. And I would have supported that, except he broke the law. He didn't stop at speaking, he took action. And the moment he took action, he's no longer a First Amendment issue. Now this is a legal issue, and that breaks the terms. And the colleges, the students out there, they cannot understand that. And it's beyond them to understand. He stopped speaking and he took action. That was illegal.
What was
There's
the
a
action?
contract. He broke it. Go ahead.
What was the action that he took? Because Maj Toure was saying that he was trying to find the actual crime that Khalil had committed and couldn't find any reporting on it.
There's not a lot of reporting on it. It's very difficult because there's not a lot of reporting on the conflict in the first place. The news media did not let this go national. It was local, but it was local, and almost every college in the country was having the same experience. Just like you didn't hear about the Cooper Union, the pro-Hamas supporters.
Yeah, where they took over the building.
Yeah, they went into Cooper Union. They were chasing down 12 Jewish students there, banging down doors, trying to break down the doors to attack them. Yeah, that wasn't national news, but it happened. What he broke is a couple of terms. One, you cannot occupy property, someone else's property in New York State, especially public property and private property. You can't. So the Occupy New York movement is in and of itself a crime. It violates property laws. It violates health and safety laws because there's no proper sanitation. You can't just pitch a tent anywhere you want to be. These are part of the laws that we have about people being homeless and being healthy. very often, and at almost every one of these events, there are women who are assaulted in these events. Again, doesn't hit the national news, but it is local news that women get assaulted, sexually abused in many of these events, including in Colombia. That happened there too. So you're breaking health laws, you're breaking city and state laws in terms of homelessness, in terms of property violations and vandalism. You're going into intimidation and coercion. And so these are all local statutes that are being violated. And then on the federal level, well, very simply, you have a green card or a student visa. Any crime is a violation of the terms of that green card, that student visa. Therefore, you get deported. So it is difficult to find, but the statutes are very much the same. As almost every city has the same statutes in terms of homelessness, in terms of vandalism, in terms of taking someone's property illegally, just pitching your tent and saying, I'm here. You can't do that. In terms of health and sanitation, and also to protect women and other groups who are assaulted at these events. So, yeah, there's a half dozen different things. And
See,
he's promoting
that's
that.
not being reported. So a lot of Americans are confused as to why his green card was revoked in the first place if there's no known crime or convicted crime that's involved.
Well, no, he wasn't convicted. You don't need the conviction. To deport someone, you don't need the conviction. They have to maintain a good moral character. And he did break he broke the rules and regulations of Columbia University by having the protest in the first place, and by promoting and being part of those who were camping out in the university. These are all illegal.
Well, look, here's the bottom line. When you're a resident alien, a student visa or a work visa or whatever the case it may be, you are here at the pleasure of your host country.
Right.
Privilege.
Okay.
Yes.
We don't need a whole hell of a lot of reason to revoke your status. Okay. You step out of line, we revoke your status. You've got to be, it's the same thing like when we say like police need to be held to a certain standard. Okay. If a police officer is double parking, okay, does he get a regular fine or should his fine be exacerbated? Because he's supposed to be not only enforcing the law, but a representative of the law. And when you break the law, and you're breaking two trusts, not only are you breaking your oath of office, but you're also breaking the law. So the penalties have to be, increased for that. When you're here, you're saying, hey, may I please stay here long enough to do this, that, whatever. But you're utilizing your time to rally up riots and espouse what the left would call hate speech, even though it's targeting a group that you're allowed to hate. You know what? For a long time, they got away with it. And they kept pushing the boundary, and pushing the boundary. Now they got to a point where somebody says, you know what? It's time to get spanked. And that's what they're doing. And they're not outside the law. They're not outside the rules. It's just that this is now a matter of it's an enforcement mechanism. We are now going to enforce that rule that has been being neglected to be enforced for so long. So when people say, well, why is it happening now? Well, because it's the frog in the water. It's the frog in the water. We allowed these people to get away with things little by little by little by little, that eventually, by the time that their actions are severe enough to call attention to themselves, it's already 10 times more severe than what was needed to get rid of them in the first place. That's why now we have certain states where you can shoplift up to $1,000 and it's not going to be prosecuted, because it's become so commonplace that we've just turned the other cheek. We've allowed it to happen. We allow it to whoa. Big screen TV, $11.99. Nope, off to the Hooskow you go. Now it's being enforced. Well, now it's time to roll back the enforcement to the very beginning. You crossed the border illegally. You committed a crime. You got to go. You're in the country, and you were welcome to do so, stipulating that you abide by a certain amount of tenets and rules and regulations, not just laws, but rules. Because you are not a U.S. citizen, and you are not entitled to all of the same rights that every U.S. citizen is, because you're a guest in our country.
Right.
All right, that would be the same thing as if you were a guest in my house. I don't let my family sit, cross-legged with their sneakers on my couch. Okay, I got nice leather couches. I don't let why am I going to let somebody who come into my house for dinner and go sitting on my couch with their muddy feet?
Right.
Well,
There's that.
If I don't tolerate it from my own family, why am I going to tolerate it from somebody I allowed to come in as a courtesy? You're a guest here. Well, you know what? Your guestship has been revoked. You're no longer welcome here. You've proven to be somebody who's disruptive.
Yeah.
You've proven to be somebody who's disrespectful. You're full of hate. You're full of anger. And God knows what you're doing, and God knows what you're capable of doing. And then look at the following that you've got now, where we lock you up and you get 1,000 people who are going to start rioting.
Yes. But here's the thing. By the way, another thing that we should mention is it is illegal to aid and abet terrorism. By the way, Hamas is a internationally recognized terrorist organization. Supporting Hamas is supporting a terrorist organization, which is why the news media and colleges like to say Palestine. What is the duly elected government of Gaza? The Palestinian
Hamas.
people. What is it? It's Hamas, which is a terrorist organization. So it is terrorism. They just don't want to use that word because it is a crime. It is a national crime. So again, but what they're doing and by the way, today there was a judgment by Jesse Furman came out, a federal judge, who said that it is okay to have him in detention. It is not okay yet to deport him. They have to go over to make sure. But the thing that we're seeing is the left is trying to pull heartstrings. They want to try and make people feel bad for this guy. And so they're saying, well, he's been here for like 8 years. He's got the green card. He's married now. He has a child that's 8 months. His wife is 8 months pregnant. So you're going to be separating a family. And
they can go together.
Hang on. Easy answer to that. One, the wife can leave with him and they can raise the kid in his home country. No one's stopping her. The baby, if it's born in the United States with an American parent, is still going to be an American. I have no problem with that. So the kid can come back to America anytime they want. They get the blue passport. So the kid's not being denied any rights and they can go. The entire family can leave. No one's stopping the wife and that child from leaving. No one. So that's not the problem there. But they're saying because he's married, because he's been here for so long, well, then he should get an excuse. No, that's not how. If you excuse the law when it is clearly violated, then there is no law and all you have is anarchy. They want to use heartstrings and feelings to make people feel for this guy. Oh, don't you feel bad? He's going to be separated from his kid. Don't you? No, I don't feel bad. He knew he was breaking the law. He knew he was supporting terrorism. He knew the consequences if anyone would ever hold him accountable. He just didn't think he would be held accountable. He thought Biden or Kamala would win, and so that no one would ever call him out. Sorry, there are laws. He did break them. He knew that. He knew the consequence. And you know what? Now it's a conversation with him and his wife about whether she's going to follow him and whether they take their baby with them. That's on them. These are all choices, grown adults. This isn't a child. They knew what they were doing. They have to live through the consequences. And I'm not going to be swayed, as the media is trying to do, to say, oh, but this is an exception. He's not that bad. Yes, he is. Yes, he is. He is that bad. And yes, he gets to be deported. And no, I don't feel pity for him. And no, there is no excuse that justifies what he did.
So let me ask you another question about green cards.
Sure.
Does it have on it having possession of a green card, is that the same as having permanent residency in other countries?
No. The
Okay,
United
now
States is somewhat different because we have the amount of freedom that we have here is not replicable in any other country. As an example, freedom of speech. In England, in Germany, in Canada, if you say certain things that they don't like it was very internationally covered. There was an autistic teenage girl. She was 16. The police came to her parents' house because she had a drink. She was a little rowdy because she is autistic. So being drunk and autistic, not a great combination. And she had gone home, but the police followed up because she was loud in a bar and disrupting people. So she went home because she got scared. The police showed up at her parents' door. While the police were talking to her parents and she was in the back of the room hiding from the police, terrified, she noticed that one of the police officers looked like her grandmother, who happens to be a lesbian. And she said out loud, "She looks like our lesbian grandma." They arrested her. They arrested her for saying that the officer looked like this girl's lesbian grandmother. I swear to God, that's the law in the UK. We just had a 60 Minutes interview where they're saying if you repost someone else's post that was mean to somebody, you will be arrested in Germany for that. That is your crime for reposting someone else's statement. No matter the context of how you reposted something that was negative against another human being. They didn't like it. Their feeling was hurt. It was a microaggression. So you go to jail. These are the laws in Canada. I mean, that's how we know about Jordan Peterson. You're required to magically, instantly, upon meeting someone, know their gender preferences, and you must use them. You are mandated that whatever pronouns they provide to you, you must use them or you will go to jail. In Canada, a preacher was arrested for being 50 feet away from a abortion clinic, and he silently, individually, by himself, prayed. He was praying silently to himself away from everyone else. He got arrested because you can't pray 100 feet from the entrance of an abortion clinic. And since he did it 50 feet away without disturbing anyone, he got arrested. So America has very different freedoms than anywhere else in the world. It's not being a green card holder anywhere else, a resident anywhere else, is nothing like being here in America. You are allowed to do so much more than you can do in any other country. But even there are limits.
So for the audience, I just want to clarify. I am a permanent resident of South Africa. What that means is that on my passport, I have a special stamp that allows me to enter and exit the country at will. I have all the rights and privileges of a South African citizen, except I cannot vote. Okay. So I can do business there. I can go to school there. I don't need any extra visas. I don't need any extra paperwork to go in and out of the country. I just have to present my passport with that stamp, and as a permanent resident of South Africa, I can go and I can come and go freely. The only thing I cannot do as a permanent resident would be to have a vote in local, provincial, or the national elections. So a green card affords you what then, as far as rights and privileges?
In the United States, own property, get a job, live and work here, pay taxes, get benefits. You can do all of that. So you can't vote. But
so as a permanent resident, I can also own property and get a job and other things of that nature. But one thing that I did note that is different between permanent residency and what the green card has is that there are no rules or stipulations that I have to abide by other than the same laws that citizens have to abide by. And so what that means is there's no stipulation for good moral character. There's no stipulation for productivity quotas or anything like that. It's basically you spent 4 to 5 years here. I think it's 4 years. 4 years in the country and you get a permanent residency, which means that you've lived here long enough. So it's just a matter of how long you live in that nation.
All right. Well, let me ask you this. Now, let me ask you this. So you're saying you have no additional rights bestowed upon you as a permanent resident, but you are restricted by the same laws that every other South African would be. Now,
right.
The question would be if you were over there at the time and you committed some sort of a grievance,
right,
where you broke the law, what would your penalty be?
My penalty would be the removal of the residency, and then I would be deported.
Right. Exactly. So just because you have to abide by the same rules doesn't mean anything. It doesn't mean you're being treated like a South African.
Right.
Because if you were being treated like a South African, you would just pay the price, whether it would be jail or a fine.
Right.
Correct? So
Correct.
if they're able to cancel your visa, your residency, based upon you committing a crime, for the equivalent to be done, then a South African would lose their citizenship. Correct?
Correct.
But a South African wouldn't.
No.
Right. So they would just go to jail, where you might actually go to jail, do the time, come out, and then find out your residency has been restricted, and then you're shipped out. So the penalty for you is more severe.
Yeah.
Given the nature of the same crime. That's the same thing here.
Yeah.
If you're a non-citizen and you commit the same crime as a citizen does, you're subject to the same criminal penalties. However, you're also subject to the State Department revoking your privilege to be here, because it's not a right, it's your privilege to be here.
Correct.
At our behest, revoke it and send you on your merry way.
Yeah.
So that's why I love when people say, oh, well, if they commit a crime, deport them. My opinion is, if people commit a crime, you prosecute them, you put them in jail for the same period of time as you would any other citizen, and then when they come out, you deport them. Because if somebody comes into you, oh, he stole a car, let's deport him. Well, deporting doesn't account for the crime they committed.
Right.
No,
they haven't paid a price for it.
And most likely what would have happened if I were to be a resident and I committed a crime in South Africa, this actually cropped up while we were over there. Not me going to jail, mind you, but this particular scenario cropped up. And basically one of the lawyer friends that we had told us that most likely what would end up happening to this individual is that they would end up going to jail and disappearing. We'd never find them or hear from them ever again.
Well, given the state of South Africa today,
yeah, and
you would probably not be found without committing a crime at this point.
So, I mean, they basically, you're right. If I were to break the law in South Africa, then I would have been put in jail. I would have done time there, and eventually, if they released me, then I would immediately be packed onto a plane and deported out of the country.
No, let me take a step back though, because something you said, Frank, and I kind of said it as well. We've all kind of said it, but I think it needs to be very explicit. Green cards and student visas and H-1B visas, all visas, they're privileges. They are a extension of what's the word I'm looking for? Kindness from the United States to an individual. There is no right that is implied in that. You have no right to a student visa. You have no right to a green card. You have no right to migrate into the United States. This is the kind of argument that we get about open borders. There's no such thing as a border. They can all come into the United States. No, there are immigration laws. There are borders. Every country in the world has borders. 127 out of 142 nations in the world have walls. So, no, that's not correct. That isn't true. And you don't have the right to get a green card because you want one, or a student visa, or an H-1B visa. You don't. We extend the privilege for you to entertain, to be in America. And there's somewhat of a social contract in that. Not only in that privilege, it is understood. You're coming to America to gain from us. You're going to learn a skill. You're going to get a degree. You're going to improve your quality of life. And America gets your economic benefits. You're going to work in America. You're going to pay taxes in America. You're going to buy property in America. You're going to give back. But that social contract, that privilege that we have extended to you, null and void the moment you break a law. And the colleges don't want to admit that. They don't want to take that leap because they're trying to convince everyone else. The progressive movement is trying to convince everyone that no, they have a right because they're human beings. That doesn't mean American law disappears because they're a human being. It just doesn't happen.
Yeah. And again, to clarify, when I went over initially, I was on a student visa in South Africa, and it turned by their own law. If you spend X amount of years in the country studying or doing whatever, you get permanent residency. Like when it comes time for your visa to be up, you apply for permanent residency, and it's not a green card. It's just a different immigration status.
Right.
So
we have a different way of doing that here.
It's not like the green card, where the green card is a privilege offered to you on behalf of the nation. This is actually a legal immigration status that allows you to go to and from the country without needing a visa.
And that's one of the differences with America. But go ahead.
And the trade-off is, the idea is that if you're a permanent resident, then you are either going to, after your 5th year, apply for citizenship, and then South Africa gets the economic benefit of your labor, or you remain in permanent residency status indefinitely, and you can still come and go, and they'll still economically benefit from you being a permanent resident. In fact, in some cases, they like it better if people are permanent residents. At least when I was there, they like people having permanent residency, because that way they know that you still have foreign economic ties, which means more money for the country if you're investing from abroad.
Yeah, that's why the Nordic states.
And it also means that you're going to be entitled to less benefits than a South African citizen would be.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
So you're saving it that way. Now to counter that, in America, this is why so many of us are saying, if you want to be an American, come here the legal way and gain American status. Become an American, and then you have all the rights and privileges afforded to every single American, with the exception of running for president because you weren't born on U.S. soil. That's the only thing that you're going to be restricted from if you become an American citizen. Now, where I'm working here, I have seen every sort of documentation for alien status. I have seen student visas. I have seen resident alien. I have seen green card. I've seen U.S. citizenship. I've seen every one of those because every one of those types of people have come in to try to buy a gun.
Yeah.
At one point or another. And there are certain criteria that many of them do not have in order to purchase a firearm, and one of them is being a U.S. citizen. Then there are certain things like there are certain things, permanent residents. You have people that are here like on the H-1B1 work visa. They're here for a stipulated period of time. They have a deadline to which they have to be removed. Student visas have a deadline from which they have to, self-deport, whatever that is, they're not entitled to buy a gun.
Right.
They're not entitled to buy a gun because they are scheduled to leave. And what do you do with the gun? Now you have a gun that can't leave the country because you can't just pack it up in your luggage and bring it with you back to whatever country it was that you emanated from. Permanent resident may not be able to vote because he's not a citizen, but is going to be entitled to certain protections that the Constitution gives to ordinary citizens. And one of those is self-defense. Okay? So those certain circumstances, someone can buy a firearm. And then when you have someone who has been granted citizenship, guess what? You're an American.
Yeah.
I had a guy a couple of weeks ago come in. He literally took his oath of citizenship at 9 a.m. and was at my store at 10:30 so he could buy a gun.
I'm an American now.
He was so proud. Not only the fact that he could buy a gun, he was so proud. He said, I waited 9 years for this. And he was telling me a story. He came as a student, had a student visa. When he was here as a student visa, he went back home. He got a non-resident, he got an H-1B1 visa, and while he was here, he applied for citizenship. Mm-hmm. He followed the law, every step that he was supposed to do. He followed it and everything, and then once his status was, he knew that he was eventually going to be approved. The State Department allowed him to bring his family over here, provido that they followed the law and filed for their citizenships and everything. They're probably going to have to go home at some point because they're going to be here on a temporary visa while they're waiting for their legal status to be adjudicated. But he, that day, hand on the Bible, became an American citizen, and he said, I can think of nothing more American than going and buying a gun so I could defend my family when they get here.
Well, that's just like Lily Tang Williams. Is another, and I love Lily. She's fantastic. Lily Tang Williams, I've spoken to her many times. I've interviewed her. She also one of the strongest Second Amendment advocates I've ever met. And she's from China. She lived under Mao. So
but she's funny as hell.
She is.
Oh,
Now, I wanted to show people it's not just Columbia University, by the way. What you're seeing right now is video, live. It was video from earlier today. And the man you see screaming, being held back by state police officers, that is a man named Zoran Mamdani. Now, most people across the country have no idea who this is. He's a guy who's an assemblyman in New York State. So he's part of the New York State government. He is an elected official. He's running for mayor of New York City. So he's already elected, and he wants to get elected to run New York City, kind of like the mayor of London. And this is what this elected Democrat is doing. He is losing his mind. He is screaming and cursing at Tom Homan, the Secretary of Department of Homeland Security, because of the Columbia student. This isn't just the college. This is this is our government. Duly elected individual in our government representing people in New York State, in New York City, wants to be mayor. And this is his reaction when the law as it exists. Notice, Trump didn't make a new law. This isn't some kind of executive order. This is just executing the law that already exists, that Democrats already voted on, that they had the opportunity under Obama and Biden to try and change if they wanted to. They've had super majorities and majorities. They could have changed these immigration laws if they thought they were so bad, if they thought the American people agreed with them, if there was sympathy. There isn't. And instead of changing the law, instead of convincing the American people that, maybe there's a different way, that their ideas are better, rather than doing that, they're going to jump and scream and have to be held back. He's trying to physically get into a fight with a Secretary of the United States because he has a feeling, and the feeling is that we should just ignore the crime that this guy did. And by the way, he wasn't alone. There is more video. This is the room. Again, these are all Democrats that are screaming, many of them elected Democrats. This is in New York State. Kathy Hochul, because she wants New York State to be a sanctuary city, a sanctuary state, which is a violation of law. It is a crime. And just like with Maine, President Trump said, fine, if that's what you want to do with your state, you can, but the federal government has no obligation to then fund you. There is a consequence. There is a punishment for breaking the law. That's true on a state level. That's true on a national level. That is true on an individual level. And these are the people. Look at how they are. Look at these guys. They're screaming. They're trying to jump forward. They're trying to get into a physical confrontation because they don't like that the law is being enforced. What are they? Think about it. If this is how they react when the law is enforced, what are they going to do? What are they trying to do? What does this mean for America? Go ahead.
What are they going to do when they are the law? Right? I mean, that's essentially it. Is what we've seen happen is that New York State has gone from being kind of authoritarian to we are now the empire. That's what Hochul wants. Alex Jones moment. I believe that Kathy Hochul is an empress and she wants to make the Empire State literal. That's what I believe.
She does.
By all her actions, everything that she's doing up to this point, any sane, law-abiding citizen that really loves America, she's trying to drive you out. She's trying to get rid of us.
She's doing the same thing that Cuomo, who's now running for mayor, he's trying to get back into politics. They're doing the same thing. Cuomo said, if you believe in God, if you are a Republican, a conservative, get out of the state, because New York is the capital of progressivism, at least on the East Coast. And when he got kicked out because of his criminality, his corruption, and he left, Kathy Hochul came and said, no, he's right. We're going to be the progressive capital, and this is how we do it, because there is no such thing as a border. By the way, give me your money. You're in Iowa, you're in Wisconsin, you're in Kansas. Give us your money so we can take care of all of these people who are coming in for the freebies. New York City, Eric Adams, he literally on CNBC, the day he won the election, the mayor's race, he was on CNBC and told them, I'm a practical progressive. Progressivism works. It's practical. And this is a direct quote from him on CNBC the day he won the election. So we're seeing their answer is laws don't matter unless they like it. And it's the laws they want to put in place. It's their feelings that matter. It's never your feeling. It's never my feeling. We always have to take their feeling. We always have to bend over backwards into a pretzel to do what they say, to make sure that they feel good. Wait a minute. Why not me? I'm a law-abiding citizen. I'm older than most of them. Why do I not count? Go ahead.
Right. And I was going to say what other system works whatever other system of governance works at the pleasure of the ruling class? Feudalism.
Yeah. Feudalism.
That's basically what we're having here in New York State is you're seeing the birth of feudalism inside of the state with the government in Albany kind of utilizing the trappings of a democratic process, but it really is just lords and nobility that are looking down on the rest of us, not as citizens, but as subjects. And I'll tell you, if New York State can't turn it around by midterms, I don't think I'm going to be here.
Well, we have.
I think Frank's going to get his wish, and he's going to have a neighbor.
Yeah. Well,
I'm going to find you.
Yeah, right.
Dude,
Well,
come on down.
a lot of people are, and
If you can afford the real estate down here, come on down.
I might have to go to the next state over. It's probably a little cheaper.
well, I can tell you,
South
almost every
South
state.
South Carolina and Tennessee are probably just a little bit cheaper than we are here. But I'll tell you, it's beautiful here. It was 73 degrees and sunny without a cloud in the sky
Shut up.
today. It was just. Do you know where I am? Do you know where I am right now?
You're outside.
I'm on my back porch.
Yeah, I know.
Okay, I'm on my back porch. It is. I have my little lights and my landscaping.
Yeah.
There's the kitchen. There's the house. I'm in. Look at the sky. Ooh. Yes, I'm on my back porch, conducting the show from here, and it is wonderful.
Yeah, but a lot of people have noticed that what goes hand in hand with this insanity, with this neo-feudalism, these neo-nobles who are in charge of states like New York, California, Illinois, Maryland, what we see consistently, Colorado, what we see consistently is they're all failed.
Yeah.
They can't operate by themselves. They are dependent on federal money, someone else's money, which is Margaret Thatcher. Socialism works fantastic as long as it's someone else's money. As soon as they run out of money, then it completely fails every single time. UBI completely fails when someone else's money stops being put in.
Right.
Every single time. And people are leaving. I mean, under Cuomo's, well, he didn't start, but since 1958, Democrats have had virtually total control of the New York State government. And several other states like Illinois are very much like this. And what you'll see is people have been leaving New York State in particular. Every year, our population, according to the census, has dropped. We at one time had 45 members of Congress for the House of Representatives in New York State. Today, we have 26. We should, if they didn't play games with counting illegal aliens as citizens in the last census, we would have had 24.
Yeah.
Think of how many we have lost. That's people leaving. And we're looking at, since Cuomo made his announcement in 2013, New York has led in almost every single year. There's about 2 years where California was slightly higher, but we have led in the net exodus. We have had at least 150,000 to 300,000 people, and a couple of years, 500,000 people leave New York State every year. The only reason why we have 20 million people in New York State, 8 million in New York City, is because we count the illegal aliens. If you took them out, then you're talking about being closer to 18 million. You're talking about a couple million people that are not United States citizens. That's what's bumping up the numbers. This is it's unsustainable.
Yeah.
Taxes are incredibly high. And it's all to do what? Well, it's to do what I just showed you in the video, so that they can scream and shout and say their feelings are more important than the law that exists. Their feelings are more important than executing the law as it exists. Mind you, they won't change the law. They just want their feelings, and they're perfectly fine to support genocide. They are perfectly fine to support terrorism. They don't care because they're special and you are too dumb to understand. That's essentially what we are hearing from individuals like this guy, Zoran. His name is Zoran Mandani. And we're seeing from people like the student at Columbia, his name, by the way, just to get it right, because I want to pronounce it properly, Mahmoud Khalil. These individuals are abusing the system, and it's affecting our entire nation.
Yeah.
And they're willing to fight. They're trying to fight.
Well, yeah. Look at the culture they come from. Look at the culture they come from, because this also plays a part. It's not being racist. It's being it's acknowledging that they would be the first ones if they had the opportunity to institute Sharia law. They would.
Well, we've seen that. I mean, in the United Kingdom,
and Sharia law is not a constitutional. It doesn't gist with the Constitution at all.
it doesn't go with
that whole
women's
culture
rights at all.
No,
or gay rights.
that whole culture is about submission to the will, and they say the will of Allah, but it's manifested through the men. It has there are no provisos for individual rights. There are no provisos for unalienable rights. There's nothing about free expression. It's all about submission. So if you get Mondani in New York City as the mayor, what's to stop him from moving through and instituting an ethnic religious government?
But he probably will, just like we saw in London, just like we're seeing in the United Kingdom. And there are massive problems with that. We're seeing that in Germany, in Sweden, in Italy. It's been massive problems in every country that it's been allowed to happen. And we're seeing that in Dearborn, Michigan, too.
Right.
So it's already happening here in the United States. People just don't recognize that as it is. So,
right.
But
you're gonna see, can you imagine a New Yorker saying that there are places in New York that you can't go?
Yeah, well, there already are. I mean, well,
yeah,
that's
but
not entirely fair.
Those are gang related. I'm talking about
Okay.
neighborhoods that you used to be able to walk through, even with the gangs there, and you'd be able to walk through relatively unaccosted. But these are officially, you walk in there, you're not walking out. Type of zone.
We're getting close to that. I mean, that's what exists in Germany and Sweden. Those things do exist in several countries. France has entire areas where very often, whenever you see about one of the terrorist attacks with the vehicles, with the cars, and then those terrorists go into these communities in France that police can't even go into.
Yeah.
That's where they hide out. So a lot of these first world nations are experiencing it, and now they're trying to import that into the United States. And this is part of that importation. What Columbia is going through, what they're supporting, Harvard has supported, Cornell University. Cornell University, I always mention them, and a lot of people don't know why I mention them. Cornell University is so pro-Hamas terrorism that one of their students self-identifies as a member of Hamas and was actively going after Jewish students in the name of Hamas. That's how deep, and that's because one of the teachers at Cornell University was celebrating with his classes and having public speaking. He was speaking publicly, celebrating the October 7th massacre, the genocide, the attempted genocide. This is how bad this is in our country right now. And this is the next generation of leaders. So this is very important. And the reason why it's not getting national attention is because I guarantee you there are people who are watching this program right now in Texas, over in Indiana. There are people who are watching this in Mississippi. They're pissed off. They're losing their minds. They're going, no, not in my country. Because no one's ever told them this. No one's told them what's happening and why it is happening and what is the consequence. No one, if people knew that there were assembly members in New York State that are trying to get into fist fights because someone is enforcing the existing law, and that same elected member of Congress doesn't have the balls to say, hey, I'm going to change the law. Here's my bill. Let me explain why we should have open borders and let over all the terrorists into America. Doesn't have the balls to do that, but he wants to get in a fist fight instead. He wants to do it behind people's backs by just saying, well, open the doors and give me your money from all across America so I can support these illegal aliens in hotels, paying them double what you make in a year. He doesn't have the balls to do that, but he wants to be mayor. I'm very upset about that.
It's because they don't. No, go ahead, Frank. Go ahead.
Good.
I want to say that the reason that they do this is because they don't care about the law. They want to be the law, and the law is whatever they think is good at the time. That is feudalism. That is what the nobles and the lords and the kings and the monarchs and everybody, that's what they did. I feel like this is what needs to happen, so this is what the law is today. And then
I
if
am the
something
law.
I am the law.
I know.
Louder with Crowder has a great "I am the law" segment that he does with him, with Judge Dredd and Trump. It's really funny. Anyway,
Well, speaking
sidebar.
of Trump, that's one of the
No,
other
but,
things. Oh, go ahead.
but the
Go
thing,
ahead, Frank.
I keep seeing the same meme pop up everywhere that says, "No one is illegal."
And no one is above the law. So which is it?
That's crap. That's
Well,
crap. That's a lie.
I'm just thinking about it as if no one is illegal, and then they call everybody else colonizers, then the colonizers aren't illegal either.
Right.
So shut up.
Yeah.
No, none of their logic
All right.
makes sense. But I wonder.
I'm gonna
go ahead.
I'm going to show you guys something real quick.
Go ahead.
Tell me yes or no.
I am the law. Oh,
That's
that's
right.
gorgeous.
Yeah, I'd buy it.
Yeah.
Model
44?
26-2 44 Magnum,
Mm-hmm.
produced in 1961 in the original box, original paperwork, unfired.
What?
Yeah, I'd buy it.
That is gorgeous.
Yeah.
You'll notice that right here, right above the cylinder release, there's no little hole in it. There's no little lock. That's because Hillary Clinton didn't exist in politics yet. Okay, little history on this gun. This is the gun, the model, the 26-2 that was used by Clint Eastwood in the movie The Enforcer, which was the very first Dirty Harry movie.
Right.
However, because they were sticklers for accuracy, police in California were not allowed to have nickel-plated or stainless steel or chrome firearms. So he was given a blued version of the gun to use in the movie. However, in the promotional stills that were first offered for the movie, Clint Eastwood was seen carrying this revolver. So while this version did not appear on screen, it predates the movie because it was on the publicity photos used for the movie.
That is a fantastic piece.
Yeah.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
It is.
Yes.
By the way,
that walked into my store today.
Somebody was selling it? Like selling it at your store? Oh,
yes.
That's heartbreaking.
No, it doesn't.
It's good for you, but
no, I could go into the details of it, but it's going to make me want to punch somebody in the face, real hard.
Gotcha.
Well, I have a limit. I have a limit.
It's either this or the wife story.
No.
Oh.
No, when I sent the picture of it to the wife, I got a picture of a big red heart back in my email.
Yeah, I would expect you to.
Because
the guy's selling it. The guy's selling it. Was he selling it?
I don't care about the guy selling it. I don't care about the guy selling it. But I have a limit as to what I would be willing to allow myself to sacrifice in order to obtain this firearm. All might not be lost.
No, we look forward to seeing you with that on the range report.
Yeah,
you will never see it fired.
Oh, you want to keep it?
Oh, you want to keep it that way?
If it is true, and I will be inspecting it tomorrow with a bore scope, and I will be doing some chemical tests on it to verify that it doesn't exceed a certain amount of carbon in the in certain areas that only professionals know where to look. If it is truly an unfired specimen, then it should only have been fired twice. What they
Right, for
call
testing.
unfired is twice. 2 factory loads at plus power to proof the barrel and the chamber. If it's truly unfired, it will remain as such. I in clear conscience might not be able to shoot it for about a week until I until I
That's what I was saying.
well the thing is this, I have this philosophy when it comes to my guns that I shoot everything
Right.
because it's, in the words of the bad guy in that bus movie Speed, a bomb that
What-
doesn't go off just isn't a bomb.
What's the
You're
purpose of the
preventing it
bomb? I
from
mean,
becoming, right.
yeah.
So a gun that doesn't get fired is not really a gun. It's just a piece to look at. Now, the thing about firearms with me is there are certain handguns that I have to pair up with a lever action rifle.
Mm.
And all of my lever actions, I have a handgun that matches it, except the 44. I don't have one yet.
So you need a Henry.
No, I have the lever action.
Oh, you have. Oh, I see.
I don't have the 44 Magnum handgun yet because I've been waiting for 20 years for this one.
Oh.
You don't know the pain I'm in right now. You have no idea the pain I'm in right now because I literally should have this gun in my hand right now. It should literally be here right now beside me.
No, I can imagine.
I can see the angst in your face.
Yeah.
You don't know. You have no clue. You have no clue.
Oh, poor Frank.
But let me switch up gears because there's something else that's pretty big, and I think it's important that I was following this week. Don't know about you guys. Canada. We were talking about Canada and their lack of free speech, and obviously, Justin Trudeau got kicked out.
Yep.
Mark Carney is in now. He's same party, same crazy, just a different guy. Used to run the Bank of England. He doesn't do that anymore.
Really?
Some would say that because he's not very good at it, but that's
whoa.
What?
So he's an English citizen that's now Prime Minister of Canada?
No, he wasn't. He's a Canadian. He was just running the Bank of England.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That doesn't make it better, but okay.
Technically, Canada is still part of the United Kingdom. They're not.
Yeah.
It's one
provincial. It's a provincial government.
Yeah. So I mean, they're
King's
technically
still on their money.
they're still part of the United Kingdom, but they're independent. It's just weird. It's kind of like England.
I got to learn about that while I was in South Africa. We did a whole thing on the provincial governments and how they got their independence.
It's stupid. It's like Jamaica. It's like Greenland.
So Trudeau is truly gone now.
Oh yeah, he's out.
He's done.
Yeah.
He's finished.
Oh yeah, he's out.
Yep,
He's not prime minister. He's out. This guy's in, and it's kind of funny because the new guy, Mark Carney, is saying the same thing that Trudeau said, but at the same time, we had Rob. Oh God, what's his last name? Ontario's prime minister, which
Ford.
Essentially, that's it, Rob Ford.
Yep, Rob.
Now, didn't this guy's brother? Wasn't he a mayor or something that overdosed on cocaine or something?
Yes.
Ford
and died.
Yes.
I don't know.
The brother's dead, and this is other lunatic took place.
Yes.
So he's like the Chris Farley of Canada.
He's the more sensible of them, but so Rob Ford is trying. I thought it was really interesting. So
fat guy in a little coat.
Yeah, he's the prime minister of
Ontario. Down by the river.
Yeah. He's the prime minister of Ontario, which essentially makes him a governor. Essentially, that's kind of the equivalent in the United
Premier?
States.
Is that what his official title is? Is premier?
Yes.
Okay.
But it essentially works out to be a governor.
Right.
And so he decided that because of the tariff, which was only in place because we're trying to protect our northern border, because they're allowing terrorists to come into America through Canada. We don't want that. So all they have to do in Canada is stop allowing terrorists to come into America, and they're fine. Well, mostly up until this point. So this guy goes and says, hey, I agree with Trudeau. I agree with Carney. We don't like Trump. We have TDS. So the answer is, if Trump's going to put a tariff on us because we let terrorists and illegal aliens into the United States, we're going to put a tariff on electricity for the United States and punish the American people in that way. That lasted less than 24 hours because Trump turned around and said, fantastic. Now you have to get rid of the 270% tariffs on milk, along with the several 100% tariffs that you have on most American goods going into Canada. You got to reduce all that. And I'm going to put an even higher. I'm going to add another 25% onto every tariff going for any goods being going into coming from Canada, and punish them even more. By the way, Canada can't survive. America can survive a Canadian tariff. Canada can't survive an American tariff. That's just a fact. And they know that. So Ontario decided, we're screwing over the entire country of Canada because their governor decided to have TDS and wanted to pick a fight with the president of the United States. He got so much backlash, he instantly turned around and said, no, I'm not going to do that. Let's lift that. We're not going to do a tariff on the United States, which didn't really help because now they've already ticked off Trump. And rightfully, it brought attention to the fact that our closest ally, one of our closest physically close allies, has been abusing America for years upon years, but no one's paid attention. News media doesn't talk about it.
I didn't even know we got electricity from Canada.
No,
I mean, granted, I knew about the hydroelectric plant at Niagara Falls and whatever, but we share that. I didn't know that there was actually other generating stations that were distributing power into the United States, muchly into like places like New York and Vermont or New Hampshire or whatever. But the I saw that Trump said, well, good, if they're going to shut off power, which is a stupid thing to do because, why would they hurt ordinary Americans by denying them electricity?
And Canadians.
Yeah,
it would also hurt, by the way, it would hurt Canadians because to take the power away from America, they have to take it away from Canadians.
Yeah.
It's going to hurt their own people, but go on.
So Trump's saying, well, this is unconscionable, but, and he gives this, but it gives us the opportunity to actually show American ingenuity and lead the way in the energy sector. And so we should talk about building, more electrical generator plants
power plants.
In the state of New York. Yeah, in the state of New York and so on and so forth. And I'm thinking, yeah, let's do that because that would actually drop the price of the transmission cost because you'd have generators that were closer, so you didn't have to transport it as far. And Hochul's up there going, no, we're not going to do that because it's bad for the environment.
Nuclear is the best. There is no energy generation, any power creation system that is more clean and more efficient than nuclear. Obama's green energy czar has done TED Talks about this. He's very public about it. And most scientists have confirmed this. There is nothing more safe, more clean, and more efficient than nuclear. That's just a fact. And yet, why does the left always want us to go to the wind turbines, which are toxic to the ground? Those windmills, people don't realize the blades, they only last for about 7 years.
And they're not biodegradable.
Yeah, they're not. Yeah, they don't.
They're not biodegradable. They're toxic.
There are absolutely gigantic landfills. We're talking about hundreds of times the size of football fields, 100 feet deep, filled with thousands upon thousands of these blades that they cannot get rid of.
You can't recycle them. You can't break them down into something else and reuse it for something else. They just sit there.
Yeah, well, they're toxic. They're poisonous. The rare earth metals make them toxic and poisonous. Besides the fact that they catch fire all the time. Besides the fact that the wind turbines kill birds, including American eagles, which are endangered. No, there's a lot of problems with that. Solar panels, same problem. They're also toxic. They only last about 10 to 12 years, especially, and that's in moderate climates. You go into like a New York climate where you get a lot of snow and cold weather. It's actually about 9 years. Then they have to be replaced. It's toxic. It's bad for the earth. There is nothing better than nuclear. We need to build the nuclear. And now Ontario, Canada, has given the United States an incentive to say, okay, let's be energy independent, build a nuke. Let's build a nuclear power plant. Let's get away from Canadian. Let's make America self-sufficient, America first. Fantastic. He's just given us the justification and the reason. And he just showed America how vulnerable we are to Canada. And that's our friend. Imagine if it was someone who didn't like us.
Yeah.
I mean, didn't like us more than they don't like us now.
Right.
And that's, I think, is very important. I think that was a wonderful wake-up call. But the news media has downplayed this so much. And they're trying to make it like Trump's the bad guy. We're in a recession. Guys, do you remember when I first started talking on this channel and my own about America being in a recession?
Yeah, we've already been in a recession. Although I did hear, and I don't know if you can confirm this or not, but it was the latest report said that inflation dropped 2.8%.
Yes, the latest report did say that. And by the way, we were in, for people to know, August of 2022. When they changed when the Biden administration changed the definition of the term recession so that they didn't have to admit that America was in a recession, August of 2022.
Yep.
That's when we started being in a recession. Trump hasn't even been in for one quarter. You can't blame him for a recession. If they want to say it's a recession, it's Biden's recession. It's not Trump's. He has, by definition, has not been around long enough to do it. But they are going to blame it on Trump now because he's the guy in office. Now they can say, Bidenomics, yeah, that was wonderful. But now Trump, in the space of 50 days, he's completely wrecked the entire economy in 50 days when everything was already screwed up and we were already paying way too much. Yes, inflation is down. Eggs are down. That's why you heard all the Democrats, they stopped talking about eggs because the price of eggs went down. Because we're not killing the chickens because of the avian bird flu. Now they're trying to say, well, the economy's bad. No, what's going to happen is that we're downsizing. We're getting rid of Department of Education. We were just talking about that. Remember, guys? We did a show on that, folks. And Trump cut the Department of Education in half. Fantastic. On the way to getting rid of it completely, which I applaud. This is what he was. Notice the Dems don't say anymore. Did you vote for this? Yes. This is exactly what I voted for. Yes.
Now do the ATF. Now do the ATF.
I can't wait. Get to the ATF, the EPA. There's a couple of them. Get rid of them. But they're now just trying to find something new to target. And everything they're pointing to, Trump has won. He's won on the Canadian tariffs. He won on the Mexican tariffs. He's winning in terms of controlling Europe. Europe is still running around trying to say, we're just as great as we were in the 1800s, the 1700s. No, you're not. Nope. No, you can't do anything without Trump. You can't. You can't do anything without America, not just Trump. You can't do anything without America. And here's your wake-up call. And called them out. Zelensky has backed down. He's going to do the 30-day ceasefire. Russia's coming to the talks to agree on their end. So there can be an end to the Ukrainian war. We're going to get the minerals we want. This is great news.
Now, a
Oh,
caveat about that, about those Ukrainian talks, supposedly now that Zelensky has said that he's willing to go with the peace and the ceasefire, the military intelligence and armaments have resumed their regularly scheduled programming, and there are some out there, say like for example, Mark Levin, are saying that it's either a bold move or it's a very foolish move, because they're thinking that once Zelensky knows that he's getting intelligence reports again and armaments, that he's just going to walk away from the table and just start fighting Russia all over again.
no, he can't. He can't. Because here's the thing. Zelensky is going for the win. He wants to win. He doesn't want a peace. He doesn't want a ceasefire. He wants victory. Not going to happen.
Right.
And I don't mean he's saying it to keep up troop morale, because if troop morale goes down any further in the Ukraine, they lose everything.
Right.
No. He's saying it because he actually wants to win. He actually thinks he can win. He thinks, or at least he used to think, that Germany, France, and the United Kingdom are going to come running on over with their troops and they're going to join in the fight and Ukraine will win. Not going to happen. That has been put there. That is firmly and absolutely squashed. People are like, oh my God, Trump didn't get invited to the NATO summit on yesterday, March 11th, to talk about Ukraine. Who cares? We don't need to be. We are in control. They can't do anything without us. If he backstabs the United States, Zelensky, Ukraine, if they backstab the United States, they lose everything. They will lose their entire country. Because without us, it is now absolutely confirmed around the world. Everyone knows Europe can't do it. The United Kingdom can't do it. If we aren't there, they lose.
Yeah.
He wouldn't dare. He'll lose in a day. At least that's my opinion of it. But I wanted to make sure we were talking about Canada as well, because that whole thing's getting shook up. And as much as this new guy is coming in and he wants to be like Trudeau, I think the world has seen the writing that we've been denying it a long time.
Yeah.
America is an empire, which I've said more than a few times. That's a good thing for the world. And everyone just needs to recognize it. It's like, no, we are the empire. Yes. And that's a good thing.
Which one of the jerk-offs from Sweden or Switzerland or something like that said that he's going to introduce charges against Trump at the UN for war crimes if he refuses to fund the war?
I thought that was Merz out of Germany. And
either way, he's the anybody from Germany. All right, if anybody from Germany looking to impose war crime charges on somebody, take a step back and turn around and look at some of your own history. But no, this is some of these guys from, I'm pretty sure it's one of those neutral nations that said, and I was like, wait a second, that's kind of an odd thing for a neutral nation to come out and try to say that if America doesn't continue funding a losing effort, we're costing another 500,000 lives, we're going to charge you. What war crime? What war crime are you going to possibly charge the man with?
The only thing that they're going to say is a war crime is the fact that when the United States suspended arms and military intelligence, Russia seized the opportunity to basically just lambast the entire eastern region in nothing but artillery fire.
Yeah, but
and pound Zelensky's face into the sand.
But again, I'm sorry.
I don't think it's a good posturing point for anyone from the UN to threaten the president of the United States, the country that pays 70% of the UN friggin' bill, the place where the UN headquarters is sitting, the place where you have all your diplomatic immunities wrapped up, which can be revoked at the whim of the president and the State Department, to be making threats against the president of the United States for war crimes, especially if you consider what the punishment for war crimes usually is.
Well, and here's the thing: is the reason they can say that is because right now the media is taking Russia's advancement on the eastern border and the pounding of the Ukrainian forces and the country as they're spinning it as Trump did that deliberately to coerce Zelensky to commit to a peace deal run by the United States.
Yes.
So they're basically making it look. They're saying that it was a mafia-esque move. Be like,
Yes.
oh, you have such a nice country. It'd be a shame if something happened to it.
Yes.
Don't get him.
Well, how? Okay. Well, where was the mafia movement that said, "Oh, if that prosecutor isn't fired by 12 o'clock this afternoon, you ain't getting your friggin' money."
Yeah, but
where was the crime there?
well, that is a crime actually, and that's a U.S. crime, and that's separate. But yes, Trump strong-armed them. Yes, it's successful. It's going to create more peace. More people will live because of it.
Right.
That's called leadership. It's not
right, and it's
that's it.
And it's also
by the way,
it's also our fucking money.
Well, that's
right.
what I was going to say.
What they're saying is that because Trump did that deliberately, he is responsible for the death of innocents.
No.
And that's not the case.
No. We have no obligation,
right,
to pay for anything or to give anything, and we have the right to take anything that we may have provided and that we haven't already given to them and stop. There is no obligation to the Ukraine. They're not one of our states. They're not a member of NATO. I know that Italy's saying, well, they're going to pretend like they're NATO and give them Article 5. No, sorry. Article 5 is for NATO members. They're not a member.
Yeah, and since the big dog, right, and since the big dog in the room ain't voting for you to get into NATO, guess what? You ain't getting into NATO. And maybe the big dog might just back the hell out of our involvement in NATO, lift a leg and piss on you.
Right.
And then you can figure out all your own shit because we're tired of having to be the world's police.
So in answer to the security, like what you were saying, Mike, about that we have no obligation.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, the 1994 Accords suddenly became all important, and it's like America guaranteed that they had an obligation for Ukrainian security when they told them to give up their nukes.
No, we didn't guarantee it because that would have been a treaty, and we would have had to have it voted on by our Senate. Those were the words of Obama. He felt like America was going to always be with them. That's his opinion. And a presidential opinion is important and powerful, but it's not a treaty. Right. No, we have no guarantee. By the way, who also made at the same time, who also was giving the assurances, that's what we gave, assurances to the Ukraine that if they got rid of their nukes, that they would be protected? Germany, France, United Kingdom. Guess what? Who's closer, them or us? If they want to say, oh, well, you gave a guarantee, fantastic. United Kingdom, Germany, France, send in your troops. Go send them now. Because it's not just America. They were standing right next to Obama when he said that, when they asked the Ukraine to get rid of their nukes. They were there. It wasn't just the United States saying that. Where are they? So they want to say, oh, but, but. In other words, America's the one in charge, and we don't like what America's doing right now because they want to have a forever war.
Yeah.
And Trump doesn't want a forever war. The American people don't want a forever war. And there is an option on the table right now to have peace. It's not a forever war. It isn't perfect. It's not nice. It's not everything that the Ukraine wants given, but they're losing. And The only other option is a forever war. Take the peace when you can get it. That's what
Speaking of forever wars, you guys got to watch Mr. Reagan at some point. He's a YouTube guy that does sometimes he does these AI parodies. And he did one of Zelensky and Trump in the Oval Office, and he says this is how the discussion should have gone. It is a riot. The AI that he used got Zelensky's voice to a T. Trump, the whole shebang looked great. It looked like they were actually having a conversation. It is hilarious. you guys got to watch it, Mr. Reagan, and look for the Zelensky conversation. It's so funny. I see an optic.
That's my new CV Life. What is this one here? I got like a dozen of them this week. This is the Wild Hawk series. It does either a bullseye, a dot, or a crosshair.
Oh, neat.
11 levels of magnification. This thing is super slick. Super slick, very, very small. It's actually sitting on top of a pick rail adapter, which is removable, so you can mount this directly to a footprint. What footprint is this thing? The Doctor footprint. Really, really cool. Really, really cool. But you want to see something that's even cooler?
What's that? Ooh.
That is my brand spanking new Cybertine 5x20x night vision optic.
Oh my God, that is nuts.
Okay, it's my brand new thermal infrared optic right there.
Oh, man.
All right, this and I've been debating as to what I'm going to try and put this on because I have a lot of cool stuff.
You're gonna put it on that 44 Magnum pistol.
No, there's no rail. There's no rail on the pistol.
Oh.
But I do have a sense of what I'm going to be putting this on. Do you want to see the coolest thing you'll probably ever see?
Is it gonna force YouTube to shut us off?
No, because I'm not going to show it to you live.
Oh, okay.
Because I can only show a photograph of it.
Ooh.
Nice.
Where the hell am I now? I can only nice. Where am I?
Oh,
there I am.
Yeah.
Okay.
That looks like a match rifle.
This is the Wraith 300 precision rifle cartridge, a 300 PRC. The entire stock, the weld for the cheek riser are all carbon fiber.
Nice.
It has a carbon fiber barrel.
Interesting.
A 6-ounce trigger, 6-ounce adjustable match trigger, box magazine capable of holding 5 rounds.
Yeah.
A long action, and the receiver and bolt are 100% titanium.
What? Why?
Because this rifle, all right, you see this optic?
Yeah.
This optic weighs 3.5 pounds.
Right.
Wow.
When it sits on top of that rifle, the whole thing will weigh 7 pounds.
Wow.
Super lightweight. Super lightweight.
Yeah. Yes.
Wow.
With the 5 rounds of ammunition, it will weigh 8.5 pounds.
8.5. Wow. Now,
yes,
does it have a bipod on it too?
This has got a 16-inch Arca Swiss rail underneath it, so it will be mounted on an extended bipod. The bipod will attach here and will extend
Gotcha.
all the way past the muzzle by about a foot.
Wow.
And the
That's
muzzle
pretty cool.
brake is a 6-port multi-directional muzzle brake that will reduce recoil on this thing to near zero
Uh,
on a 300 PRC.
the best meme I ever saw was somebody showing a muzzle brake and it says it's a bullet splitter, so it can shoot in 6 different directions.
Yeah. Well, the anticipated performance of this rifle is 1/2 MOA at 1,000 yards.
Wow. That's incredible.
Yeah. It is quite possibly going to be the most accurate rifle in the world.
Say hi.
Carbon fiber barrel. That is interesting. I've heard
Well,
of them doing it now.
it's a titanium barrel
Right.
that's reinforced carbon fiber.
Fiber.
So the barrel thickness is like a third the thickness of what it would be if it was a standard steel barrel.
Right.
But then it's precision wrapped, vacuum sealed, and all kinds of other scientific crap I don't understand to get the harmonics of the barrel absolutely perfect. So it displaces the heat, displaces the weight. Any vibration, everything is just tuned out of the gun.
Wow.
This is gonna be pretty freaking slick, and it's gonna sit on top with that bad boy right there.
So
Maybe this.
So when you were talking about sacrifices you'd have to make for the 44 mag, is that one of them?
No,
It's either that or
that-
the 300.
no, that's already that is already a done deal.
Good.
That's a done deal. The sacrifices I would have to make would be, figuring out if I would want to part with any of my other children
Oh,
in order to get that one, because for me to get that one at the right price, if I was able to negotiate the deal I wanted to negotiate, it would have been here with me today, right now. But for me to negotiate it to where I could pick the thing up at the price that it's going to wind up being at, I have to sacrifice some of the children that I don't like getting rid of one thing to try and put something else in this place. I just like to
Right.
add. And because the only way I can get rid of stuff is to take a loss, and I'm not going to take a loss on things that are already more valuable than what people are going to possibly want to shell out for.
right.
But as far as that other one, this is what might go on it. I don't know. Maybe not. 4x16 by 44. If I want to just use this for tuning that one box. I got like 100 of these. I gotta sift through to figure out which is the best one for that rifle. If I don't use the night vision.
That's a good problem to have, Frank. I'm happy for you.
Yeah.
Dude, you should come and see. You should come and see the.
I should.
Yeah, it's a good problem, dude. It's a friggin' nightmare. It's a friggin' nightmare too.
Well, you're also talking to somebody that's kind of deprived in the Empire State.
Well,
Yeah.
as Smokey Bear used to say, only you can prevent forest fires.
Yeah,
Only you. How about this beautiful lasering guide spotting system?
Oh,
Ah,
I
look at
wish I
that.
had one of those. Yeah,
Woo!
that's shiny.
Yeah, nice barrel leveling and everything else. Every caliber you could possibly think of in both green and red laser.
Am I feeling Sith today or rebellion?
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe if I can. It's funny because I actually have on one of my handguns. I have a purple laser.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, I have. Yeah, I have
You're
my.
supposed to be Mace Windu with a handgun.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, it's funny because one of my competition guns, I have this really cool Canic, and I have a red dot on top of it that I have tuned for 21 to 35 feet. So
Right.
between 21 and 35 feet, I know I'm going to be deadly pinpoint accurate with that thing if I look through the lens. Now, if I continue looking through the lens and I activate, now that dot is green
Right.
inside the optic. If I continue looking through it and I turn the red laser on, then I'm going to be deadly accurate by looking at the red dot through this optic from 100 to 150 feet. If I flip on the purple laser and I'm continuing looking through this, I will now see 3 different dots. The third dot is 150 to 250 feet.
Huh.
So when I look
Instantly
through it,
range.
depending upon the distance of my target, and I have a pretty good sense of where the range is going to be, I know exactly where the bullet is going to hit at different ranges. So I don't have to compensate by looking at one dot and say, okay, I have to raise or I have to lower to compensate for my bullet drop. All I have to do is focus on the color. So, oh, it's 150 feet away, boom, that's green. Oh, it's 200 feet away, boom, that's purple. It's 50 feet away, boom, that's red.
That's smart. I like that.
Yeah. And then I have the whole thing backed up with a strobe flashlight, regular flashlight, and an infrared flashlight. So in case I want to flip on the night vision goggles and go
Right.
covert, all I have to do is turn
Infrared
on the
light.
infrared. I can put on the infrared flashlight that nobody sees, and I can you know, I can
That's
James
great.
Bond myself up and do all kinds of funky tactical stuff. Hey, listen, when you're fat, old, and out of shape, you got to take advantages when you can get them.
That's right.
I
Absolutely.
just happen to take those advantages through some technology and smarts.
Yep. That's awesome.
No works.
Speaking of tech, have you talked to the guy that had the biometric lock lately? Has he made any moves or gotten any more
I
development?
I stepped back a little bit. He got involved with another friend of mine. I put him in touch with another tech guy who they're trying to work together to try and make some. Instead of making gradual advancements with the technology, they're trying to do stuff to try and move like 3 generations ahead of time.
Oh,
You know, as quickly as they can,
right.
rather than trying to build on the tech, build on the tech, build on the tech, and constantly offering new variants. They're trying to get as many of the variants out as possible early, so they can get their act together. But we'll get him on soon.
Yeah.
Listen, guys, if there's nothing else, I want to end the stream tonight on a little bit of a well-wishing note. Our friend Jan, as you know, she went out to see her dad this past week. Her dad's not been doing very well, and she's home again tonight. She made it home from Arizona, and unfortunately, barring a miracle, it doesn't look like her dad's going to be around for very much longer. Having lost both my folks, I know that we've all lost, we've all shared that pain with each other. We've all shared our pain with that family. We all know what it's like. Jan, sweetheart, whatever the future is going to bring for you and whatever troubles and torment you have to go, the pain and the burden that you're going to have on your shoulders, you can share with us. We have been down this road. We have carried this weight. We can help you with that burden. So if there's anything that you need, please, you know how to reach us. You know where we are. The only thing we could offer you and your family right now is our love, our support, and our prayers. I believe I speak for Dal and Vass, and I know Mike Marshall, if he was here, he would say the same thing. You're our sister, Jan, and we love you. So as you go through this, you know you're not alone. We're with you, and if you need to talk, you know where we are, and hopefully, when the phone call to come home comes through, it's not gone. It's just a different level.
Yeah.
It's here, but it becomes everywhere.
Yeah.
So he will be with you. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us this week for the weekly roundtable. Within the next week or two, I'm going to be possibly making a very big announcement about some future happenings with the show. That if you guys can just send us all some positive vibes and some good notes, and we'll, if it all works out, hopefully we'll have a really great announcement for you in the next couple of weeks. But until then, you guys be safe, shoot straight. We'll catch you guys next weekend.